I have a clean face. I've moisturized, and now I'm going to start off with concealer. This is Ben Nye's Shinsei Fairest. Has a little bit of a yellow undertone, and so since my bags under my eyes are a little bit purple, I want to offset that purpleness with the slightly yellow undertone. So I have this great sample kit, and I'm using this color here, which is Natural Beige, is the color I'm going to use as my base.
Apply your base with either a cosmetic sponge or a brush. I don't advise using your fingers. Not only is it messier, but it's not as sanitary.
I'm going to start off with my highlight, and I'm using, this is Ben Nye HD Media Pro makeup it's called Special White, but I don't know if you can see with the lighting, it's not really white, it's a very light beige, and I'm going to use that as my highlight.
I'm putting highlight on all the areas that I want to advance toward you. If you remember, warm and light colors tend to advance toward you, and cool and dark colors will recede away from your eye. When we use the highlights and shadows together, we create contour or form on our faces to counteract the flattening of our features under stage lighting, and also to change the apparent shape of our features if we want to correct something.
Now that I have my highlights all in place, I'm going to put on my shadows, and I'm going to choose from my Ben Nye colors. Rather than using the character shadow that comes in the kit, I'm going to try one of these other colors. I'm going to try Cocoa Sorbet. It's a little bit more of a yellowy brown than the character shadow. So I have this almost like an indentation that comes in here, and the skin is starting to pull away. It's starting to turn into kind of a jowl. So I want to offset that by sort of visually cutting off that. See how it kind of goes up like this in a highlight? I want to visually cut that off. So when you compare looking straight on, I'm talking about this part of my face. This side looks lifted and a little more narrow, and this side has still got that pull down. Now both sides are lifted. It's like a little facelift. And now I'm going to blend a little bit.
When I use the term blend, I'm not just mixing all the colors together. That would produce a muddy mess all over your face, and you'd lose the distinction between the base, highlight, and shadow colors. I use the term blend to mean a gradual softening of the sharp edges of a color, so there are no sharp lines where the colors start and stop, but more of a slight gradation and blending between the colors.
So it's a little bit, it's still a little bit high contrast between the shadows and the highlights. And I have a really high forehead, so I shadowed the top of my forehead to bring the focus down a little bit. And just to add dimension onto my face, I shadowed my nose up into my cut crease. I wanted to sort of accentuate a more sunken in cheek than I have to make myself look skinnier. And we talked about my cutting off my little jowl a little bit, emphasizing the shape of my lips, and lifting my eye a little bit with the highlight right here to lift my eye a little. And up close, it's a little stark and strange, and even when you step back, it's a little bit like, oh, she's got a lot of makeup on her face. And I don't quite have eye definition yet. But it's a really good foundation of a basic contour makeup that just to help me look like me. And so I'm going to powder it now. I put a little bit. I'm using Ben Nye's Fair on my puff, and I put it on there and then I smush it in. Now I could wait a little while to let it soak in and really absorb any of that extra oil, and it really helps. So you can wait like a minute or two, go do something else and come back. It feels really lovely after you put the powder on. It's really smooth and just feels lovely. Now when looking at the finished contours, I feel like it's a little bit light, like I've paled myself out a little bit. I think maybe I don't need that quite high of a highlight. And so I'm going to I've got this bronzing powder. It's Mary Kay, and I'm just going to kind of give myself a little bit of a glow and tone down that highlight a little bit. Can you tell the difference? I've done it on this side of my face and not on this side. I'm using these colors for my eyes, kind of a little purpley. This is sort of a purpley brown, and then a darker purple. Now to make my eyes pop a little bit more, I'm using, I think it's Shimmer 1 Cameo is what the SHC stands for. It's got a little bit of a shimmer in it. It's just a pearl beige. I'm really flat right here between my eyes, and it makes my eyes look really far apart, which kind of gives you, it's a little bit of a stupid look when your eyes look really far apart. And so I like to make sure I've got a nice highlight right here in the center to help bring that part of my nose forward and give myself a little more dimension so that I don't look like a squished Barbie doll head. This is a Mary Kay eyeliner. It's kind of a dark brown charcoal. And you see how much larger and more defined this eye looks than this eye. I've only put eyeliner on like this half of my eye. I feel it makes my eye kind of draw up this direction. If I want to take it a little more glamorous, I can use a liquid liner. This is called Tattoo Liner, and it's Kat Von D. To give myself a little bit of a dewy youth look, I'm going to use my Ben Nye White, and I'm going to put it on my waterline. You can also do the same thing with your eyeliner if you want to do sort of the waterline underneath your eyelashes. Mascara.
When you put mascara on, start with your bottom lashes so that your top lashes don't get smudged when you do your bottom lashes. You'll have better results that way.
So far, this is, other than the black eyeliner, liquid liner is a little bit glamour, a little cosmetic. Everything else is just pretty much like a basic contour and corrective that looks just like my face on my face. I'm missing a lip. The color of this is called Really Red, and I'm putting it on, I'm going, oh, that's really red. So that's not very much like a basic contour and corrective. Really Red lips bumps it up into the cosmetic. So if I wanted to go with something a little more natural, I might try, this one is Nutmeg, but I'd have to sharpen it. Or using my, the colors that came in my kit, or you can use something that's rosy colored, or just any lipstick. You don't necessarily have to use special stage makeup on your lips. You can use plain old lipstick. But it's nice to line and define your lips, and then if you want to change the shape of them a little, you go outside the lines. So on my face, my lips look really small this way, so I might cheat it out just a little. So can you tell the difference on this side? I've just done my normal lip line, and this side I cheated it down and out a little, and this side just a little. It's not so much that it looks unnatural, I don't think. I think it just makes my lips look a little bit wider this way. And then I'm going to fill in with a color that I like on me. Do you want to know what the color is? I can't see it, I don't have my glasses on. But this is Rimmel of London. It's a color stay, so it stays on after I eat, which is nice. I didn't do anything with my brows. I'm kind of a natural brow person. I have a heavy brow. I just recently plucked them down a little bit, so this is as thin as they ever get. And I just kind of like a natural brow that way. But this is an area, there's a lot of products out there that are just commercial products that you can use on your brows. I'm going to, just to accentuate it a little bit, I'm going to use it's just a brown. This is Stein's makeup. I don't know if Stein's is still around anymore. I got this when I was in high school. So that was pre-87. If I want to do a little bit of a blush, and maybe make my cheeks look a little rosier, which I usually don't do because I have broken capillaries. They're already pretty rosy. But that's something I could use my my Midnight blush. And I'm barely touching my face here because I don't want a whole lot of it on there. So that's just kind of a rosy cheek. If I were doing kind of an 80s look, I wouldn't use quite so much rosy. It would have a little bit more of a brick red color, and then I would really go in here. Because that's what we did in the 80s. See, now I look flush. So I'd like to show you how to clean your brushes. It's very important that you clean your brushes every time you do your makeup. And so what's really nice to get is a little cap off of, I don't know, some product that you're finished with, sports drink or whatever. It makes a really good receptacle. And then this is oil-based paint or oil-based makeup. And so I use jojoba oil, or you could use brush cleaner. But the idea is that the oil will break down the oil in your makeup. So you don't scrub it back and forth. You always want to make sure that it's going, with the bristles. And so you just smoosh it around a little bit in the oil in your cap, just going back and forth. And it dissolves the makeup. So that's how you start, and then you can use a tissue or an old t-shirt to wipe it off. And then once you've gotten all the makeup dissolved out of it, then you wash the brush. You do the same thing with the brush, except for then you use soap and water to get the oil out of the brush, so that then you have a clean brush for next time. So again, you've got, and once your oil is gross because you just washed your brush, and it doesn't take a lot, it's just a little bit, just you can't see that, can you? It's only a little, just a few drops of oil. So, or brush cleaner, if you have the brush cleaner. You don't have to, you'll wind up wasting a whole lot of it if you put a ton of it in there. It's just a very little bit. And then I take my brush and just go back and forth and back and forth, and it dissolves the makeup. And I might do that, and then notice I'm always going with the grain of the bristles. I'm never like scrubbing it, because that'll ruin. You always want to keep the grain of your bristles going this direction. You don't want to push them backwards, or else then it makes it really hard to put something on with a nice clean line if you've got bristles that are sort of flared out. And so I would kind of do this, and if it's got a ton of makeup in it, I might, rinse and get new oil again and redo it, or new brush cleaner and redo it, going back and forth and back and forth. And then I would do the same thing with hot water and soap, so that I could get all of the oil out. And you want it to, so when you're wiping it off, when you are finished, you want it to be wiping off and nothing coming out of it. And then you have a clean brush.